Over the weekend, Paula Jean Swearingen was the candidate who ran against Joe Manchin in 2018 as a Democrat for the West Virginia Senate. In 2020, she ran again for West Virginia Senate. She won the nomination of the West Virginia Democratic Party, but then unfortunately lost in the general election. She announced she was leaving the Democratic Party and joining the People's Party a couple months ago. She announced over the weekend, here's the tweet: "After several questions, I will confirm People's Party US is purging staff, board members, and volunteers with open, serious grievances against Nick Brana. This is happening after months of retaliation. Obviously, I withdraw my support." And Nick Brana is the national chair of People's Party. I also reached out to Paula Jean for an interview. I have not heard back yet as far as an interview with Paula Jean. So she is basically withdrawing from People's Party. I was told that she gave in her 2 weeks notice and she talked of serious grievances against Nick Brana. She wrote a lot of things on Twitter, but I wanted to call attention to this particular tweet. She wrote, "They don't have the infrastructure and knowledge to run an effective campaign. The people that were going to help them are getting run off." So I have heard this, by the way, for a while from different sources, that the infrastructure was poor within Movement for a People's Party, significantly disorganized, that for many years this has been going on, but they were not close to having any actual candidates. So Paula Jean is the setup. When she talks about people are being run off, I want to show you what she's talking about. This is from Movement for a People's Party Slack. So Status Coup obtained these messages. This is from yesterday. Michelle Ramirez, regional coordinator of Movement for a People's Party. I'm told that she handles the Southwest and the Great Plains area. She wrote, "Hi, everyone. The National Coordinator Circle of the People's Party," that's the actual board of the People's Party, "has decided to remove certain members effective immediately. They list Regina Clark, Thomas Royko, and Todd Jellin are no longer on the Coordinators Circle, the board of directors of the People's Party. There are times when changes become necessary for the sake of the organization, and those in leadership need to make difficult decisions. When a board is paralyzed or doesn't exercise leadership, critical decisions are delayed, issues are unresolved, and our volunteers and members go unheard. Allowed to continue, these conditions can harm the organization that thousands of people across every state in this country have worked hard to build, and in which so many have placed their trust and hope. We will share more information shortly. For now, we'd like to say that we appreciate the contributions that all our members make, including those of the departing directors." The message in the Slack continue. This is from somebody named David Mizell. "Hi, everyone. We want to inform you that Sabrina Pena-Young contract as communications director has been terminated effective immediately due to a number of factors, including the serious concerns raised by numerous volunteers regarding her performance and interactions with members. Thank you for your patience as we work to address the issue, which we were previously unable to act upon." I have now, from multiple sources, several, that there was an investigation going on of Nick Brana, that there was an investigation going on of Nick Brana, the chair of People's Party. I cannot confirm what was being investigated. I've heard some things, but as a journalist, I'm not going to share things that I can't verify. But at this time that there was an investigation going on, as these board members were purged, there was an investigation going on into Nick Brana, the chair. I'm not trying to be coy. I just don't have enough to go on. I can confirm there was an investigation. That much I know. But the timing is that while this investigation was going on and the people investigating it had come to some conclusions, all of a sudden, people were being purged off the board of People's Party. Again, I reached out to Nick Brana. I have not heard back. There's other things too, but I want to bring in Renee Johnston. Can you explain, just so people know, when did you join Movement for a People's Party, and what was your experience?
So I signed on after their convention, which was late. I think it was either the last day of guess the first day of September in 2020. I signed on. I was living in New York and was very excited by what I heard during that convention with all the speakers and the idea of breaking the duopoly. I signed up. There was a little bit of confusion with who was going to onboard me. There was no one at the time doing anything in the state of New York. So I was essentially the first person who was onboarded with the ability to onboard other people and to start having meetings to discuss what we were going to do within New York in order to, help grow the party. We started meeting. We were initially told to just work within New York City because there wasn't the means to, work with anyone outside of New York City. That was difficult to do because there were people who were very interested outside of the city in participating. So we essentially just started opening the meetings to whoever was a resident of New York State. I was also a member of the Black Voters for People's Party Circle. We met frequently with hopes of making sure the platform was reflective of our voices and to make sure that the things that would be really pertinent in making sure that Black voters were going to be part of this emerging party were going to be present. That kind of fell apart when we found out that we were really just being tasked to bringing more Black people into the party, even though there wasn't really a strong platform to support those voices. Eventually, and I'm trying to give you the real short version of the story because this can get very long if I go into too much detail, but feel free to ask any questions. Eventually, there was a lot of concern. There were no bylaws. There were no details about what states were supposed to do. There was no information for those of us who were working in state hubs to help us really kind of gauge what our actual directives were. We were having a hard time getting answers from, people in the coordinating circle. There was just a lot of what seemed to be misinformation about what the organization actually was.
I want to ask, because timing-wise, Nick Brada, who's obviously was the public face of this, he was making suggestions that they were going to be running candidates in 2022 and, midterms, things like that. And then even suggesting they would be running a candidate in 2024. What I'm hearing from you, as well as some others I've spoken off camera, is that was nowhere near possible based
Correct.
on a lack of infrastructure, disorganization, and, internal drama, I guess you would say.
Correct. And what you saw was a rewrite. Because when they first started, they were going to run candidates in 2020. They were going to run candidates in 2018 and run a president in 2020. So this cycle of getting people pumped with this idea that they were going to do something has been literally circling the drain for years. And every time a new generation of volunteers gets involved, this cycle restarts where the volunteers are excited. They get involved, they start working, they realize that nobody knows what they're doing. They try to force some change from within the organization. And at some point, they're all just removed because the people who are at the top, which is essentially Nick and his dad, decide, and whoever, decides that they're really holding tight to Nick and his dad, they decide they don't need those other voices and they eventually get purged. It's now, literally what it was just over a year ago when I was booted.
And to be fair, by the way, to MPP, it's not like the Green Party or other third parties or other things don't have drama. So I don't want to make it seem like there's never drama in third parties or organizations. But from what you're saying and what I've seen in terms of messages that I've seen, basically the MPP Slack almost was like becoming like a YouTube live stream chat with people arguing.
Right. And the part of the issue is that it's not monitored well enough. There are too many people in there and there's no one really working to keep the space safe. There was a lot that went on when I was in the Slack with regard to, racist comments that were homophobic, transphobic. I mean, and spaces, you're correct, spaces get like that when they're unmonitored. But part of the issue was there was no attempt to fix it. Like, there would be people in the Slack saying, can someone please from leadership step in here and do something, say something, help in some way, and there would be nowhere to turn for any assistance when these things were going on. And it was the same thing now. People start fighting about, who's right and who should get mandated, and, whether or not the mandates are right, and the masks and the anti-vaxxing. And there were people who would say, like, listen, people are within their rights to make their own decisions about whether or not they want to get vaccinated, but this is not something that we as an organization and as a political organization, specifically, should be jumping into, because there are too many outside factors that are on the anti-vax side that make it a very tricky space to navigate if you're trying to really work with all kinds of people. And when it was brought to the attention that, we're going to start to have a problem with regard to right-leaning people, and a lot of the white supremacist conversations that were coming up, and people stepping in, and, stop being about masking and mandates and vaccines, and started to be about legitimate questions of, how are we going to take any kind of stance on this without seeming as if we're getting involved with white supremacists. And that was initially like brushed off, like, well, that's not really a concern. And that should always be a concern if you're a political party who is seeking to get votes from all kinds of people.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.